What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are back with career mode once again. We are on quite the roll now. We've not only lapped the real life Formula 1 series, we are getting towards the end of season 2 now, which if we manage to do, we will have already done as many episodes as what I did throughout the entirety of F1 2018 career mode. That is how much I'm enjoying this series at the moment. But here we are for the Italian Grand Prix. Unfortunately, heading into this race, we had the major tyre wear upgrade fail. So that is something that we're missing out on in this race. So the path that I decided to take with a way of just going straight up for upgrade is not really focusing on department efficiency or quality control. It's kind of starting to rear its ugly head. It's starting to prove that the AI are upgrading faster than us, like Haas. I've stepped up into another gear heading into this race. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. With Haas having even more of an advantage than what they did previously, they will be almost unstoppable now for the rest of this season. But we're not going to give up. This is a circuit that really suits our car. Really helped me out in getting my debut win last season. So I'm hoping that as strong as Haas are, I hope that I can at least be in the mix with those guys to contest for the win of this race. I guess deep down, all we really need to do is to continue to outscore Hamilton and now kind of outscore the Ferraris as well. And we should still be in with a chance of winning this title. Here we are in practice. This is my qualifying run. Ricardo again helping me out with Slipstream at Monza. He did this time last season, but in qualifying. But regardless, we come across the line and we show some decent pace in P2. So that's nice. Head into quali. Hopefully, we're still up there.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. Great practice session from your old team.
Really?
Well, thanks anyway.
Oh, Claire isn't happy when you turn down the questions about her all-time favourite drivers, Devin Butler and Lucas Weber. She is bloody obsessed. It doesn't matter what kind of session I have, whether I crash out, whether I, win a race or whatever. It's always about those two. It's a bit of a meme at this point now, but here we are for the run into qualifying. We're actually going to take some grid penalties this race because, as things stand, we're actually not going to make it to the end of the season with the engine components that we have at the moment. So this still is inevitable. You need to do a lot of quality control, durability upgrades in order to make it through a whole season. So unfortunately, we'll be starting from the back in this one.
The pit lane will be open shortly, which means it's nearly time for qualifying for the Italian Grand Prix here in Monza.
But if ever there's a place you want to take some grid penalties, I'd say this is the place to do it. So easy to overtake here, and we should be on for a good result regardless of where we start this race. But speaking of the race itself, you might have noticed that the weather will be arriving tomorrow. Bit of light rain, transitioning into heavy rain, and then back to light rain again. So tomorrow's Grand Prix is going to be pretty crazy. I hope that we see a safety car, maybe even two, but we shall see. Qualifying, I've got the new engine components in, and really qualifying doesn't matter because we're starting from the back. So essentially all I did throughout Saturday qualifying was just do one run, just to get myself through these sessions, to make sure that my teammate qualified where he should have, and to make sure that Mercedes is somewhat down the order as well, and also just to confirm the pace that we have. We've gone for a slightly higher downforce setup than what I would have normally if it was a dry race tomorrow. The original setup was 2.4 wings, but I've upped them to 3.6, I think. With the option to go even higher, I could go 4.6, but I think I decided from Q2 onwards to lower the front wing from 4.6 down to 3.6, and hopefully that'll mean the car is a bit more stable. We can push it into corners a whole lot more in the rain, and obviously as well give us a bit better straight line speed without too much of a compromise. But yeah, this is Q3. Weber absolutely flying with a 1 minute 16.9. I think for reference, I've been in the mid-17s so far in qualifying, so hopefully I can find even more of an improvement and get right up there to be on the front 2 rows or so. Not like it matters anyway, but across the line, I think it was P8, and it was P8 for qualifying 3. Ricardo right up there on the front row of the grid with Lucas Weber. So heading into this race, it is refreshing to see that Ricardo has finally lived up to his potential. Let's see if he can carry this through to a good result tomorrow. Last time out in Spa, I think he qualified well, but then had a grid penalty. So I'm just praying that he does not take another grid penalty today. Otherwise, I'm going to lose it. Anyway, lots of resource points coming in. Let's go to the race.
So, unfortunately, we've picked up some grid penalties, and we'll be starting further back than you expect. As for how bad it is, that'll depend on what the other drivers get.
It's race day here in Italy once again. Monza, home to so many records. The smallest winning margin, for example. Do you remember in 1971, Peter Gethin beat Ronnie Peterson to the line by 1/100th of a second. Anthony Davidson is here once again for today's Grand Prix. Let's talk about day. Looks like they've got a tough race in store today, as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
With your podium last race, the team are hoping for more of the same, but with yesterday's qualifying performance, it could be tough. Good luck.
Thanks, Jeff. Here we are for the race. The Italian Grand Prix. A bit of weather is at play, so this is going to make this start and just this whole race in general very, very interesting. Unfortunately, Ricciardo again got hit by a grid penalty. I was just so mad that I couldn't even show it on screen or anything like that, but he's starting from P10 today. 5 red lights, and away we go for the Italian Grand Prix. Not a great start, but I guess it doesn't really matter, because heading into turn 1, you really don't want to be on the attack too much, because there's just cars everywhere, there's mist everywhere, and the vision is just very, very hard to see. So we're going to play this very cautiously.
Okay, we're low on fuel.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff, for that. Thank you for pointing out the bleeding obvious as we lose the back end out of turn 1. Really appreciate that, but yeah, you would think that Jeff would know about the low fuel strategy that we're finally going for once again. In the last few races, we've been overfueling the car as we got the inside of Lando Norris into the middle sector chicane. Absolutely parking the car on the apex, which you'll love to see. We go clean around the outside into Lesmo 1, and there we go up into P18. And Lando, I don't know what the hell happened there, but he lost a lot of ground in that exchange there. But yeah, I would have thought that the engineer would have known about my low fuel strategy, given that he was the one that I coerced with, or convened with, to come up with a strategy. Hopefully today we won't end up with bucket loads worth of extra fuel hanging on our car at the end of the race, so we can look forward to a lighter car in this one. But early days in this race, making some ground up the inside of Kvyat this time, and that's P17 for us. Looks like Lucas Weber is absolutely running away with this race. He's got a bit of a lead over the 2 Ferraris at this stage, so pace, at least in the wet, looks pretty good for Haas. Hulkenberg as well needs to make up a bit of ground. Max Verstappen there pulls into the pit lane, so he had some front wing damage, and he was holding up the pack. So too with Magnussen, who has some issues at this stage of the race. Around the outside of 4, 5, 6, 7 cars we go. Unfortunately, my ambition outweighed my talent there, and we have taken to the escape road. I literally couldn't go through the chicane because the turning circle, at least in the wets, was horrible. I couldn't get round the foam markers, so we took a bit of those with us as I lose my voice, and we carry on our merry way. But yeah, that was an interesting few seconds there as I was carrying a bit of polystyrene in my front wing. It took a good 20 seconds or so to fully dislodge, and we were able to get on with our race once again. But yeah, these guys are quite slow in this midfield pack. Magnussen is holding up these guys massively, with whatever problem he's got. We've caught up to the train once again, and now this time let's hopefully not make the same mistake as what we did earlier. I thought I had a lot more oomph under brakes than what I anticipated, But now, I feel like we might be starting to get a groove on it. Up the inside of Albon we go, into the middle sector chicane. And now, hopefully, we can claw back that ground that we lost very quickly. So yeah, I just asked a little bit too much of the brakes, but I feel like now I'm starting to get a feel of what this car can do. And my confidence can somewhat be built back up again now, and we can push on from here. Because that's always the hardest thing I struggle with in the wet, is knowing how much grip I have. Braking is something I really lean on in the dry, but in the wet it takes a bit of getting used to get your confidence up, and it looks like we're doing so at the moment. Up the inside of another Toro Rosso. Kvyat, we dispatch of him, and now we're back up into P16. So there we go, lap 7. We're getting towards a third of the way through this race, or as Tiametmarduk from yesterday, 3/4 into this race. But yeah, we haven't really made as much ground as I was hoping I would. The Ferraris are way out of touch in this one. We're at least a pit stop behind those guys. Hamilton, I feel like, is at the head of the queue, at least in terms of like best of the rest at the moment. So for me, I think my aim is trying to beat Hamilton if I can. Around the outside of Stroll we go. That's us up into P15. And going forward, I feel like we're going to have to utilize the undercut, because we missed out on it yesterday.
We've got about 15 minutes of this heavy rain left, after which we should see light rain conditions. Inters look like the best tyre for now.
Again, it's looking like we're going to get another one of those races where it's heavy rain, but the wet tyre will probably not get used. So at this point, I'm kind of wondering why we even have the wet compound tyre in Formula 1. Same too with real life, it's not even used there either, because the safety car starts the race, or whenever it goes to heavy rain, the safety car comes out. We never race in the heavy rain, so that's a thing. But during that mini rant, we managed to get past signs, and now we're setting after the guys inside the points now. So we're now starting to find our feet in this race. Magnussen is up next with a big boy dive bomb into turn 1. I had both the front tyres locked up, and I was simply a passenger, but somehow we managed to get that move done, albeit a bit forcefully on Kevin Magnussen up the inside. He opened the steering, and there we go. We are through for P13 in this race. That was out of control. Much like the time where we tried an outside move into turn 1 and took to the escape road. But looks like we're coming in on this lap for a change of intermediate tyres. Like I said, the reason why we lost the race yesterday in Belgium is because we didn't react early enough for another set of intermediate tyres, and today we are not making that mistake. We doubly cannot afford to do that because we're in the pack and we have a lot of places to make up. So we're vouching for some fresh tyres, some clean air, and hopefully by the time everyone else makes their stops, we will have jumped a few guys. But a bit of a yellow flag through the Curva de Grande. It is one of the Alfa Romeos. I think it's Giovinazzi who is out of this race with engine failure. But everyone behind him taking it very, very cautiously. Don't know if there was already a yellow flag before he retired, because they were not keen on overtaking. But oh my god, this is a consequence of Giovinazzi going slowly. He's done a Ricardo at China and turned across. Alexander Albon, he is out of this race. Danny Kvyat did really well to avoid that massive crash on the run into the middle sector. Bits of front wing and suspension arms go flying everywhere. The safety car is nowhere to be seen as Albon is stranded on the circuit, and now just a little bit up the road, Giovinazzi is parked just off the racing line as well. Only a local yellow flag was required for one of the biggest crashes we have seen so far this season. The safety car, or whoever, Bernd Maylander or whatever your name is getting paid for doing absolutely nothing. Can I have your job, please? Because I want a slice of that. I would at least take the car out for some exploratory laps every so often. I would not turn down the opportunity to drive down a Mercedes AMG GTS, or GTR I think it is, I don't know. Anyway, halfway through this race, some people are making their stops, including my teammate, one of the Ferraris as well, a Williams. We negotiate Norris for, what, the third or fourth time in this race. Can't get rid of this guy. He's always slow and kind of in the way. That McLaren is just nowhere in a straight line, unfortunately. Maybe we need to do Road to Glory series with them again. But anyway, 12 laps to go in this race. Putting in some green sectors, which is nice. The track, I feel like, is improving. I feel like it's nearly at that stage where it's intermediate or light rain again. For a lot of the race in the first stint, it was technically heavy rain, but no one was diving it in for wet tires anyway. But we have a yellow flag through the third sector, and that's exactly where our race leader, Lucas Weber, is. He leads this race by the best part of 10 or 15 seconds over the Ferraris, and I think he is out of this race by virtue of an engine failure. So again, we lose another runner in this Italian Grand Prix, and this could be Lucas Weber's entire championship hopes going up in smoke. What a time to lose a race. When you're in the hunt for the championship, when you're leading by an absolute mile, your car is working way better than anyone else's, and it just conks out, and that's it. Your race is over, and potentially championship over as well. I think you'll be the best part of maybe 70 points behind Lewis Hamilton, depending on where he finishes today. But speaking of, Hamilton just got overtaken by my teammate there, so yeah, good to see that Ricciardo is actually making some good inroads for once, and showing some promise for once. But he's only a few seconds up the road, is Hamilton, so hopefully by the race end, we might be in a position to be able to contest with them. We are closing in by the best part of 3, 4, 5 tenths a lap. Of course, it becomes a lot more than that once they start to battle, but Ricciardo, again, looking to find a couple more places. This is one of the Williams and one of the Alphas fighting away well inside the top 10 here. Ricciardo with the watching brief, trying to find an avenue through, but just not being aggressive enough. I don't think Ricciardo is truly living up to his real-life counterparty. He definitely needs a bit more aggro, because right now, Ricciardo is just, for lack of a better word, too much of a pansy, I think, in this season of career mode. We've got Hamilton, who's looking for another go back at Ricciardo, and if Ricciardo's not careful, he might get re-overtaken here on the run into turn 1. So yeah, all these guys up ahead battling quite hard. We're catching them massively. They're only 2 seconds up the road now. Ricciardo loses the spot to Hamilton, and it looks like Hamilton is going to get 2 in 1 go here. He gets Gasly as well and moves himself up into the top 5. So nice little move there from Hamilton. I'm trying to pick my way into this fight now, but there's too much going on. Too much mist and everything. I decided to just hang back, and we'll wait for a better opportunity as Ricciardo goes defensive into Lesmo 1. Nothing doing there. We can't make a move stick around there, so we'll just have to wait until the run into Ascari maybe. That's a bad run for me there, so I won't be attacking Ricciardo at the end of this straight. I'll have to wait a little bit longer. That's my second corner cutting warning of the race. One more and that's a penalty. A bad run for Hamilton as he got overtaken by Ricciardo once again. And there we go, we saw past him. We might get Ricciardo as well by virtue of amazing momentum. And there we go, P6 for the taking with 4 laps left to go in this Italian Grand Prix. Hopefully Ricciardo can get back in front of Hamilton, and that'll mean even more points gained for us on Hamilton in the championship. But here we go, bit of clear air, bit of rhythm, and we find ourselves at the fastest lap of the race. That was really surprising. So the track is somewhat improving. That's the reason why we're suddenly in the window now with our pace. Previously we were struggling a little bit versus some of the teams around us, but as this race has gone on, I feel like we've only got stronger, which is really nice to see. And we haven't even got the major tyre wear upgrade, which we were supposed to get for this race. But anyway, Gasly, last lap of the Grand Prix. I'm trying to set him up nicely. I've been working quite hard over the last 2 laps to really have a go at him, but I haven't really been in a position to do so. Been making small little mistakes here and there, but around we go through the outside line into the middle sector chicane, and we get the move done with a massive back end loss. I committed very early to take the corner away from Gasly, and there we go, we're in the top 5. What a recovery this has been after starting last in this race. So I made sure to get the overlap, and then as soon as I got that clearance from Gasly, I turned in as early as I could to kind of shut him down and make sure he couldn't, overtake us up the inside. And so that was a pretty effective move for us. Top 5 now. Vettel wins the race. I believe Charles Leclerc in the other Ferrari is going to get P2. So it's the Tifosi's dream today as Ferrari finally get a win. But they get a 1-2 in the process, so they'll be absolutely screaming in the crowd. The podium celebration for them must be absolutely insane. Hulkenberg gets P3, Perez P4, and it looks like we're just about going to hold on to P5 and 10 points after being at the back.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
What a race. What a day. What a comeback. Unfortunately, yes, we have gained some points on Hamilton, but it is a big day for Ferrari as Charles Leclerc gains a whole truckload of points on myself. But Vettel, with his race victory as well, will be gaining some huge points, and he might even overtake me in the driver's standing. So we lose one contender in a way in the form of Lucas Weber with his DNF today. But now Sebastian Vettel enters the fray of this championship fight. So it's looking like a four-way fight for the win of the championship in Season 2 of F1 2019 Career Mode. 22 points is the gap. We're tied with Sebastian Vettel. Charles Leclerc, the best part of 13 points ahead of us, and Hamilton, 22 clear of us, 9 clear of Charles Leclerc. So, yeah, Ferrari looking pretty good at the moment. Mercedes need to get a wriggle on with their upgrades and their development. I know they're probably focusing on next year, but they really need to hunker down and focus on what's in front of them right now because they'll probably lose the lead in the next race. Their pace is nowhere, and there's so many more teams that are filling the gap in between Ferrari and Mercedes. So it's dire times for Mercedes. Constructors, we still hold down P3. So not a bad day from Renault. I think Ricciardo scored some good points. So good day, but he should have done better.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. You must be feeling good about winning your battle with...
No.
The weather was miserable today, but do you feel this was an advantage for you?
I think so. Not sure.
Well, thanks anyway.
Oh, okay. Still not happy because I didn't answer your first question about your Crush 1 and Crush 2. Devin Butler and Lucas Weber. I'm sorry. But I will not be answering any more questions about them unless they are specifically relevant to my race. Okay, Claire? You are going to get fired at this rate. I think Emma is going to have a chat to you by season's end. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But there we go, guys. That has been this episode of F1 2019 Career Mode. What do you think? Is Lucas Weber out of the fight now? I think, from memory, he is about 50, 60, 70 points off the lead of the championship. But he's got such a dominant car. There's a few races to go in the championship yet. But I don't know if there's enough in order for him to win. I feel like he needs to hope that Ferrari lose a lot of points to myself or others in the championship. He needs to hope that Hulkenberg can back him up and get 1-2s. But yeah, that's a huge mountain now for Lucas Weber to climb. Let me know what you think, whether it's possible for him and whether it's possible for me, because now Ferrari look to be very consistent in picking up the pieces where you know, Haas might be dropping the ball here and there. But upgrade-wise, we're going to do the tyre wear upgrade that failed this episode. That'll hopefully go on next time out in Singapore. We also have a major weight redistribution upgrade that is going to go on the car for the next race as well. And on top of that, we are going for a minor engine power upgrade for Singapore. So hopefully 3 upgrades coming for next race. We really can't afford to have any more failures, even though I haven't specifically targeted too many quality control upgrades. I really should have done this at the start of the season. I really thought that this game was going to be the same as 2018 in the way that, you know, the AI wouldn't be as fast as us. So I did, honestly, I didn't see the need to upgrade those department efficiency and quality control things, but now I'm wishing I did. You know, I thought about it at the start of Season 2, but it gets to a point where it's like, we're already past that point. We're going to see much less of a return on investment because we've already bought so many upgrades and we've already had so many upgrades failed. And even now, I feel like we've had so many upgrades fail and bought so many upgrades that it's almost not worth purchasing any more department efficiency upgrades. But I don't know, let me know about that as well. I feel like since we have the extra points right now, we may as well go for something. I think the only thing we literally can afford right now is quality control, and I think we will go for quality control on the chassis side, given that we've got a lot of chassis upgrades still to come. 2 ultimate upgrades, many majors, a couple minors as well, so that's what we'll target for Singapore. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry for the ramble. Hopefully we're in the championship still. I can't wait to see it all play out.